You're tuned in to Steve Megatron on Altered Geek.
Do you start your day deciding which video game you're gonna play? You fight with your family over which is better, Marvel or DC. The geek of all of your friends, cause you know what Batman beats Superman. This is the right place to be, so turn up the volume cause you're an altered geek. Altered geek. Get altered. Geek. Altered geek. From Star Wars to Star Trek, comics to tech. Altered geek. Get altered. Geek. Altered geek. Pull up a chair cause you're an altered geek.
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips, and joining me in this episode is returning from the Great White North.
That's right, it is I, Mike the Birdman Dodd of This Week in Geek and more or less GeekCastRadio.com. I am so happy to be back on microphone, a proper microphone and not my iPad for a change.
Holy crap, the world is about to break.
I know, what can I say? It's good to be set up. I'm set up in my living room, not my studio, because I still don't have a proper chair yet, but hey, I don't got to worry about that for a while yet. But hey, I'm happy to be here, happy to be back.
And we have a surprise for you, Mike.
Do you now?
Yeah. This is your overall 100th podcast with the Geekcast Radio Network.
Holy, that's a lot of podcasts I've done with you guys. Hundreds of hours at least.
At least.
Easily.
Well, it has been an honor and a pleasure, and I look forward to 100 more, and more beyond that.
Yep.
And what brought that on is Optimus Solo is actually doing a history project of who's hit certain milestones on the network. Wow. So
Optimus Solo hit his 500th episode when we did our first milestone episode. So if you guys have not heard his milestone episode, we basically reminisce on how we all kind of became friends and how he joined the network and what he was doing and the evolution of what we've done and things like that. So yeah, we'll have a milestone episode for Dodd at some point. Don't know exactly when, but soon.
I'm excited for that. That's cool.
Yeah, and I guess Blanchard and I are getting close to one too. I just don't know what number.
Yeah, I think you're around I think you're somewhere around 1,500 and I'm somewhere around 2,000, I think.
Man, and I thought I had no life.
Hey, I fully admit I have no life.
8 years later. So, what's
almost 10, really?
Yeah. Almost 10, yeah. I mean, from when I first started podcasting. But, so what's drawn us together for this awesome geekery guild, you could say, of collecting in the geek world?
Yes. Now, I want to send a huge shout out to the companies that have helped make this possible. These guys have sent me items for support, review, and just analyzation. I have to thank Fisher-Price. I have to thank Playmobil. I have to thank Bandai and Shout Factory. Now, this is something I was originally going to pitch to one of my radio networks, but instead of having 2 minutes, I decided having like over 40 minutes would be a lot better because this is such a huge topic, and considering Star Wars just turned 40, I think it was last week or the week before last, what better time to talk about collecting, because now a lot of us are getting to the age, and you yourself, Steve, you've got kids. It's about that time where we can start introducing our kids and some of our younger family members into the wonderful world of collecting. And especially over the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of big franchises come back. We've seen G.I. Joe, we've seen Power Rangers, we've seen Transformers. Star Wars has never, ever went away. And it's such a unique time to be a collector because some of these big franchises are becoming super, super kid-friendly. And I'm so surprised because you look at a franchise, like this is kind of where I got the idea for the show, actually. Last year when the Ghostbusters reboot came out, Answer the Call, they started doing a younger line of toys for both boys and girls. There was a lot of role play toys. There was a lot of toys put out by Mattel with a younger kind of play in mind. And the only collectibles I'd seen for Ghostbusters at that time was stuff from Mattel, NECA, Diamond Select, etc., and other licensees that were meant for the adult collector like myself. But seeing these younger kind of cutesy versions kind of got me thinking, you know, I remember seeing cutie Ghostbusters, cutie Transformers, cutie G.I. Joe toys previously. I mean, I think of Transformers Rescue Bots, for example. And then I think about higher-end collectibles like the stuff from Japan, the Masterpiece line, the Takara stuff that's never, ever gone out of style with us older collectors. And now our kids are getting to that age where they can start to appreciate the toys that are coming out. And what really kicked it into high gear for me this year is I finally got a chance to go out and see the new Power Rangers movie and seeing how things are evolving now. Because now we have that franchise turns 25 years old, I think, this year, if I'm not mistaken. Next year, sorry. So you look at the design of the new Megazord versus the old Megazord. If you look in the artwork for this episode, or in the episode post, rather, my friend Alex took some pictures of a Megazord I found at a garage sale. 100% complete, I might add. And I got it for a bloody steal. Compared to the new interactive movie Megazord, I kind of like the way things are going for kids collecting, because now they're at a point where they can collect the old stuff where it's not hard to find if you look at garage sales, if you're willing to look and dig for it. Or if you don't want to do that, you can go to your local Toys R Us, your Walgreens, Walmart, wherever, Target, and you can find these products relatively simply. And there's even the stuff that's coming out now that's meant for us older collectors. For example, Power Rangers by Saban and Bandai has this wonderful line called Legacy right now. And I've seen that. They are absolutely astounding, Steve. Like, my wife got me the Ninja Megazord.
I used to have the original.
And it's so cool. She got me the Legacy line. It's die cast. Oh. It's not as big as the original. It's slightly smaller, but it's more detailed and more articulated. And she also got me the Ninja Falcon Zord. And you combine these into the Ninja Mega Falcon Zord, and it just clips onto the back. And it's just as good as the stuff that comes over from Japan. Mm-hmm. Now, you are paying a collector's premium price for it, but if that's not your thing, you can collect the new line of toys, which is out now for Ninja Steel, which is the new series airing on Nickelodeon, which is in hiatus right now. But you can pick up a Megazord for like $40, which is not unreasonable. And it's pretty much the exact same stuff as Japan.
Yeah, when you think about the Megazord, it's essentially 5 toys in one. So $40 for 5 toys, that's not bad at all.
Exactly. I mean, now I will say the older stuff, or at least my deluxe Megazord from the 90s, it's a little nicer than the Ninja Megazord that I have from Ninja Steel. But that's comparing apples to oranges, considering each series is adapted from a different Sentai. Yeah. You really don't know what you're going to get year to year. I know I'm watching the Japanese stuff right now. I'm watching a series called Q Rangers, and it's based upon, I guess, the Zodiac. And some of their toys look so weird. I can't wait to see how they're going to adapt this, or if that series will even get adapted for over here, because I think we're 2 years behind them typically in terms of adapting Sentai. Yeah. Because they got Ninja Steel 2 years ago. We're just getting it now. And in fact, in the Japanese version, the Gold Ranger's morpher is a hamburger. I'm not even making this up. It's so weird.
So if he's hungry.
Yeah, it's so strange. And yet, in the American, he gets this ninja blaster star thing.
So what you're telling me is the Sentai version of the Gold Ranger, he's essentially the Hamburglar in disguise.
He looks more like a really weird cowboy because he has an electric guitar chainsaw. It is the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Say that again, slowly.
He has an electric guitar that's also a chainsaw gun.
Oh my god.
It's so cool.
He's essentially Bluegrass from Silverhawks.
Actually, that's not a bad comparison, actually. It's so weird, but it's so cool just to see how these companies are adapting all these things. And Power Rangers, like I said, is not the only company to be doing it. As I mentioned, Ghostbusters previously. Playmobil, they just released, this actually just came out in the last month or so, their Ghostbusters line. And the Ghostbusters movie, we all know, is a movie that came out in 1984. And that's a movie that kids today, they might watch, they might not watch. They're more likely to watch the newer one just because it's the new one, right? So Ghostbusters not necessarily isn't at the top of a lot of kids' kind of playlists. Yet the attention to detail that the Ecto-1 that they sent me gave seems like this thing is built for kids and collectors in mind. I'm pretty sure this is based off the Extreme Ghostbusters mold. I can't say that with 100% certainty. In fact, don't quote me on that. But it's got lights, it's got sound. You get Winston, you get Janine in a Ghostbusters uniform with a proton pack, which was super badass. You also got, I think you got a ghost with it too. They also sent me Egon and this gentleman-like ghost. And they even have like working traps and everything. It's just so unbelievable. And this thing is meant for kids, so like ages 3 to 8 years old. This thing is way cooler than the Kenner Ecto-1 I have right now because it does all these cool things. It lights up. In fact, its lights are accurate. Its sounds are accurate to the movie. It's loud. Like you can hear this thing in the hallway. If I press the button in my bedroom, you can hear it in the hallway nice and clear. It's ridiculous just how much kids today are spoiled for choice in terms of the cool things these kids get to have.
Well, going back to the stuff we had as kids by comparison with the level of quality that, I mean, yes, you do get your occasional cheap toy, which they make them intentionally for different price brackets, but there's the aspect that you pretty much can get anything you want, screen accurate, whether it's animation or film, as compared to what we had as kids, which was, it had the likeness of it, but it didn't actually portray what it was supposed to be. And so therefore, like, looking at the nostalgia glasses of it, it was great when you had it as a kid, but looking at what they're developing now, it's insane what they can do with it.
Absolutely.
And the level of detail.
Yeah, I mean, once again, even going back to, say, Power Rangers toys, I went to another garage sale and I picked up some of the 8-inch Rangers, which are the ones that everybody had when they were a kid. They're basically the size of, like, a Barbie doll. And you look at the Legacy figures, which would be about a comparable price point now of about $20. The level of detail on these toys is phenomenal and outstanding. Like, I got the White Ranger and the Pink Ranger. Even the morphers on their belts are accurate. In the original 8-inch toy, it was just this red orb. So like you said, Steve, the likeness was there, but not screen accurate. You look at toy companies, once again, like Bandai is a really good example of this. They made Gundam toys in the 90s, and Gundam's this long-running mecha anime. And they made pretty good toys for the Americas. A couple years ago, I started buying these toys called Robot Spirits, and they run about $50 a figure. These things are screen accurate to what's on the TV show, like right down to the individual rivets on the side of the armor. If they're really noticeable on screen on the toy, they're noticeable. And I've never seen toys this good before. Yet as kids, we are able to get away with, well, that kind of looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I suppose he'll do. You know what I mean? Or we used to get away with just toys of, I'm not going to say lesser quality, but they didn't exactly nail the wow factor, I guess, if you had to say. I mean, one line that stayed consistent over the years is Star Wars.
But that's Hasbro.
Yeah, but that's Hasbro, and that's been Kenner. I mean, if Star Wars has done anything right, they've done vehicles right almost consistently throughout the years. The later series, not so much, especially with scaling issues. But that's because they've changed how the vehicles fit with the 3 3/4 inch. But that's a. If you want more on this, there's a channel on YouTube you should check out called Retro Blasting. They actually do a really good analysis of the Rogue One toys and how they fit with the older stuff. And I can see a lot of Michael's points, but I digress. That's a topic. I can talk about Star Wars collecting endlessly. But I don't know. There's just something so special about having something from your childhood be in your hands that's exactly as you remember it from the property that's being adapted from, be it Power Rangers, Ghostbusters, Ninja Turtles even. There are Ninja Turtle figures that go for over $100 now. Mm-hmm. And I remember picking those up from Playmates for like $5-10 a piece. And Playmates has always sat at a really good price point for their figures. I can't remember many that retailed for over $10.
I'm trying to think. Let's see. I know all 4 turtles, Splinter and April, were about $5 or $6 each, depending on which store you went to. Shredder, Krang, all of those might have been around the same price point. I think when the bigger figures, kind of like maybe Bebop and Rocksteady, might have been like, instead of 5 or 6, maybe it was 7 or 8. I think where the price point for Playmates and Turtles happened that was larger than that was like the turtle van, the turtle blimp, the sewer playset, that kind of stuff. But the actual figures, because they were only, between 3 and 6 inches, I think,
yeah, exactly.
Or somewhere in between there. So they weren't like today's standardized, fully articulated type of figures. They were the 80s prices and things like that. And I remember going to various stores and picking up a lot of the Turtles action figures as a kid between 88 and 89 and 90 and getting my mom would go in there, she'd spend $30 and I'd have over 10 toys.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's insane. And I gotta always thank Playmates for keeping their prices very consistent. I mean, you can get, like you said, a full turtle set for around or under $30, and you probably get at least one bad guy. Turtles has never slacked in terms of their kind of play sets. I mean, the Technodrome is, I still think, one of the best play sets ever built. Mm-hmm. The sewer play set, very nice on detail. A little bit annoying with some of the loose parts you could lose from it.
Yeah.
But and speaking of play sets, one of the things that got sent to me today was the Power Rangers 2-foot-tall Megazord. This thing's a play set. You don't see too many of those anymore.
No.
And it's kind of cool, just the fact that it's 2 feet tall. It's a giant friggin' Megazord. It shoots lasers. It's like power coins. The only other play set I can think of right now is built for kids. It's the Playmobil Ghostbusters Firehouse, and it has over 200 pieces. Retails for $80. That thing should cost around 120, if not more. Yeah. Yet you get 200 pieces. It's shorter than the Kenner Firehouse, but it comes with 5 figures and a metric crap ton of accessories. Like you get the containment unit can actually take the Ghostbusters traps and empty them. Cool. You couldn't even you could dump certain ghosts in the Kenner one, but you couldn't take there was no traps that were scaled for the figures.
Right, yeah.
That's detail, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think for me, the difference between I don't even count as a kid being a collector because I had a lot of toys, but I was playing with my toys. I was not leaving them on the shelf. I think the collecting part of the whole thing comes into the fact of, as we get older, we get nostalgic for what we had as a kid or what we would like to display now.
See, that's something I've actually been kind of trying to figure out. How do kids get the good common sense to start collecting? Because
parents teach them young.
Honestly, I kind of wonder if that's it, because as a kid, I was very stupid. I never kept anything except remarkably few things. As an adult, I'm kicking myself in the ass that I didn't keep half this stuff. So I guess, Steve, you're the parent here. I am an uncle to young kids, so to speak, I guess. I don't know, whatever. Are you going to teach your kids to collect? Or are you just going to let them play with it?
I think I'm just going to kind of let them play with it, because the fact that, for one, most of the stuff made today is like it's the level of quality is like insanely great. But unfortunately, for like the attention spans of, like, I don't know how most children are, but mine have low attention spans. So like they'll play with something for a while and then it's like old news, and they'll move on to something else. And so like for me to spend top dollar on it isn't necessarily in the cards. Mm-hmm. So typically, like, what we do is we yard sale purchase toys, and luckily there's a lot of the older nostalgic stuff that can be picked up for relatively cheap prices because it's old and it's been played with, and especially with their ages. Like when I was a kid, I had the entirety of like the Batman and 89 and through Batman animated series, Ninja Turtles. Like I had everything in the toy lines, literally everything at one point. Wow. And I was spoiled.
You think?
The big play sets we had to share collectively between my brothers and I, but I owned all the figures, and they would get some of them too, like some of the alternates. But so like, I mean, I had like the Technodrome, I had the Neutrino cars, I had the Turtle Blimp, I had the Turtle Van, I had various Batmobiles, just all that kind of stuff, and I kept the ones that had the deepest impact for me, mm-hmm. for nostalgia reasons. Like, for instance, the 92 Batman the Animated Series Batman figure, which one came with like a yellow grappling gun. I don't have the grappling gun anymore, but I have the figure. The other one came with the actual Batmobile. They were identical toy. But if you go to buy it now, it's like an insanely high price to even get that figure, the original one. And mine's got like a little bit of paint, it's just, it's well over, 25 years old, but, it's still holding up for what it was. And I got it when I was 5, and I still have that figure. Like, there's not many figures I have from when I was a kid that were, in pristine condition. One of them I wish that was my, Ninja Turtle Krang, mm-hmm. with a robot body, like the tall version. Yep. That thing was totally like, I broke it many, many, many times. And it was to the point that it was just, I was holding onto it for the nostalgia of having it as a 5-year-old. And it would look like total garbage. And so my wife was like, finally like, you need to just toss it. It's broke. There's really no saving it. Like there were so many pieces missing and snapped off that it wasn't even worth, like the body was there, but a lot of the stuff had been destroyed. And I
can just imagine the 3 Phillips boys arguing over who doesn't want Arctic Blast Batman.
See, my kids didn't care about that. They just were happy to, because I had the collector case. I had a curio cabinet up in the corner of my office for a while. And I had various figures on display. I even managed to, at a Comic-Con a couple years ago, track down from Star Trek Generations the spacesuit Captain Kirk and his 23rd century red military jacket thing that he wore in those movies. I managed to track down them brand new in the box.
Oh wow!
And I only paid $5, and it was great. And I mean, I loved Playmates Star Trek figures, which unfortunately nobody really makes Star Trek figures anymore.
Not so many,
And the movies was kind of a bomb in a sense. I feel like they should have kept the momentum going in the vein of Star Wars with that whole process. Because I did own a lot of those figures for a while, and I think the best figures that Playmates ever came out with for Star Trek were the First Contact figures.
Absolutely, yes.
And then after that, it kind of tapered off because like they stopped making it, and they went through like a multitude of companies after that. But anyways, getting back to the whole kid aspect, like I I don't know if I'm going to get them any to actually collect, because I've seen what a financial impact that's had on me.
Well, yeah, I mean, considering some collector toys can go for well over $100 or $200, depending.
Yeah,
and they're not meant to be played with, quote unquote.
Well, and that's why
it's hard to resist.
And I've got like Masterpiece Optimus Prime, which goes for an insane money now, because it was $60 at Target when it came out, and it was the very first Masterpiece, and they just don't make them like that anymore. So I mean, like, I've got figures like that are just kind of irreplaceable in a sense, just because of what they are. And as I started getting older, like around the 8 to 10 range, I stopped letting my brothers beat the crap out of my toys with their toys, like for the action of them. I would do more of the implied, like going up and swinging at them, but not actually like making contact, so that I didn't have chip paint. Whereas they like to physically grab the toy and bash it on the next toy. So I mean, like in that sense, like I can see where it's like a little bit too early at this point, but it's like at the same time, I don't know if I want to cause them to burden themselves to the point that they easily
lose the fun aspect of it, right?
Yeah, they lose the fun aspect of it, which is what I did, and then I started latching onto them to the point that I wouldn't let anything touch them. I wouldn't let my brothers even like remotely play with me with those figures, and then it caused me to go broke a lot when I got older.
So you mentioned the Batmobile earlier. Earlier today, Kevin Conroy,
yep,
GD
I saw
Batman
that
himself, posted 2 images. He went to the Peterson Car Museum in L.A. The first image is of him next to the Batmobile prototype car, and the second one is him next to the '89 Batmobile. Oh my God! Get in that car, Batman! Come on! Oh, it's so good.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm at that age now where, depending on how old the kids are, I might get them a collectible if I know they'll treat it with respect. And that's so hard to judge when someone is 10. I think 10's about the age you could explain to them, this is expensive, treat it how you want, but consider this something really cool, as in take care of it. Anybody below that age, I don't think you could really explain it to them and have it kind of sink in.
No, you could not. You could not reason with a child younger than that.
Yeah, like, I don't think I'd give a 10-year-old a Masterpiece Transformer. That's asking for trouble.
Especially with the price point, yeah.
Well, exactly, yeah. But if I gave them, say, a Legacy Edition Power Ranger, or some of the Diamond Select or Mattel Ghostbusters stuff, which are about $20, $25 price point, I think I could see them respecting that. I think I could. And I'm just trying to think what properties are rather friendly towards that price point.
Okay, so here's a question really quick before we get into that price point. Between when you say collecting for kids, are we talking everyday action figures that we had, or are we talking about other merchandise? Because I honestly think you can teach kids how to collect if you're buying not them specifically, but you say, okay, I'm going to get you this, but you can't have it until this, because it's a display item only thing, like a statue or something, or like the DC collectible, the DC Direct statues and the stuff that aren't actual toys that are
I think I get where you're going with this, and I think you may have just answered your own question. If you want to start a kid collecting, those vinyl pop figures are a great place to start.
Yep. I'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, because they're like $5-10 a piece.
Yep.
They can play with them if they want, but they can also display them too. And there's a crap ton, and there's so many variants too. Mm-hmm. I guess if you wanted to get your kids a collecting bug, those vinyl pop figures are perfect.
Absolutely.
Who makes those? Funko, right?
Funko, yep.
Yeah. I've got maybe 10 or 20 of them. And it's kind of hard to believe I have that many, because I don't consider myself a collector of these things. They just keep coming to my house.
Yeah.
I've got Power Rangers. A fan sent me Daredevil Matt Murdock, which is really cool. As a move-in gift, one of my neighbors got me Ryder from Mass Effect Andromeda. I've got one of them, what's really expensive. I didn't realize it. It's the Hollywood Hulk Hogan from WWE 2K16 on the PlayStation 4. Yeah. Evidently, he's worth like $50-$60.
Wow.
And some of the other con exclusives ones can go for big money too. Yeah. Which, as long as your kids aren't collecting, I want the San Diego Comic-Con one. Oh, Junior, please don't start that.
No.
Only pain will you find.
I have only gotten into the Funko stuff, and I haven't really collected anything. I think the last time I had a toy collection was 2011, 2012, so it's been about 5, 6, 7 years since I've had any kind of toys in here. And I still have like a big toy collection. I still have like my Looney Tunes Happy Meal superhero things. I still have like a mini Optimus Prime and Ravage kind of thing, but I don't have shelves and shelves and shelves of toys anymore. But the Funko stuff, I blame my buddy Doug, who does Talking About My Generation, the podcast over there. When I went out to California and stayed with him and his wife, they have these things displayed all over their apartment. It's awesome. It's great. It's fun. The first one I got it on Free Comic Book Day this year. It was the 2016. It was the 2K16 Stone Cold. So, nice. So that's kind of where it's starting for me. And I might get 1 or 2 a month. I'm not going to go crazy with this because I'm at the point in my life where collecting anything that is not digital media, it just isn't. Collecting physical stuff anymore for me just doesn't really do it for me anymore.
Well, that actually kind of brings up a new question, actually. Think about this. What about collecting media, like stuff that maybe not necessarily will be around for a long time, or stuff that's really kind of limited run? Because with services like Hulu and Netflix, it may be there today. It may not be there a year from now. For example, Shout Factory sent me a bunch of the Power Ranger stuff on DVD, but they also sent me some of the Super Sentai stuff. The Sentai stuff is not available outside of DVD, or unless you want to track it down pirate, which piracy bad.
Bad pirate.
Yeah, bad pirate. What about collecting that? Because one of the things I love to do is collect cartoons. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I will pay stupid amounts for stuff that's going out of print, or stuff that is out of print. In fact, this is, I find, incredible. And it sucks to live in Canada for many reasons when it comes to importing media. If I want a copy of Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad Volume 2...
That's so old.
In the U.S., it costs $12 because it was put out last year. If I want to import a copy into Canada, $50 plus shipping. That's highway robbery at this point. Because I know the company that makes them, and I know they're packing it in paper sleeves. I am not happy with that. You want to charge me $50 for that? Jeez, man, I hope you buy me dinner first. But it's just, I like to think if you can't buy your kids toys, maybe giving them a cartoon might be something else you could do too, because you look at all the DVD sets that come out. Some of them are really cheap too.
Yeah, that's the one boat I do agree with, and that's only because digital, for one, doesn't take up a lot of space. Mm-hmm. 2, I get to choose it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I've got a lot of, I have a lot of physical copies of shows that I grew up on, and films and whatnot, but I've actually gotten rid of a lot of them so that I can get down to the digital aspect. Because, like, I even do this with games now. I refuse to buy anything at the store anymore. I will get everything digitally, because then there is no physical copy taking up space in my desk or somewhere else that I have to, like, physically move. It's just so much of a nicer process.
But what happens when that service goes away? Because, for example, I know there are some digital services where they say, unless you download your movies by X date, they're gone forever.
That's why I download them by X date, and then I put them on my external hard drive.
Okay, but what if that hard drive fails?
I actually have multiple with backups.
Okay, yeah.
I'm the crazy paranoid person, so it's But yeah, like, or you can save it and, like, you know, pay for Google Drive or something and put it in the cloud and save it. But yeah, I mean, it's the same concept though, is people need to, you know, if they're going to go that route, back up their stuff.
Like for me, I find I'm buying more physical media of stuff I know could go away for a long time, because I know it took forever to get Power Rangers onto Netflix, and I don't want to ever lose that capacity. Just now it sucks that I have to wait for certain seasons to come out, because I know Mystic Force just came out. I'm really waiting for RPM, which is my favorite Power Ranger series ever, to come out, and that'll probably either be late this year, if not next, just considering there's a new series about once every 3 months or something like that. So but there's older cartoons. I look at companies like, say, Mill Creek puts out a bunch, Shout Factory puts out a bunch, Warner Brothers On Demand will print you some. I think you can buy the Police Academy series there for something like $30, which has never been made at wide retail. I've only ever found one place online showing it, and it was a pirate site. Once again, piracy bad. But if you don't make it available for me to buy, where else am I going to go?
See, that's the only time that I justify it, is if they physically, like, it's been out for years and there's no reason why it's not out.
Yeah, like there are so many shows. If you told me, Steve and Mike, I could buy a copy of the Battletech cartoon in Blu-ray, but it'll cost me $50. It's only 12 episodes. You know what I'm going to say? Where do I give you my credit card? Yeah. I want that series. There are so many cartoon series that have just been lost to the ether, or they get substandard releases. And I'm thankful for companies like Shout Factory, like Mill Creek or Cookie Jar, or these other smaller print companies that put out these releases.
VEI.
But
VEI does great stuff.
Yeah, you don't see them anymore. And I'm happy for streaming services, but that's yet another $5-10 a month I'd have to pay out, which I gladly would. If you told me there was, for example, and I know we've talked about this on the show hundreds of times, if you told me I could pay $5 a month for a Disney-only Netflix and it was everything they've ever done, here's my credit card. No problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they don't do that.
Okay, so for me, I have not had... it's been about since my mom died. I have not had an actual television in 2 years. Just don't have the money to get one. The one I had just stopped working. Just never replaced it. I pay for Netflix and Hulu. If a show or a movie is not available on iTunes, just to rent really quickly, if it's new movie, I can wait till it hits Netflix. Doesn't mean anything to me. I am so beyond, oh my God, I need it now when it comes to movies like Wolverine. I can wait for that. I have no problem waiting for the media release for that. Logan. Logan.
You'll be impressed. You'll like it.
I know, and I'm sure I will. I have I'm not saying anything against. I'm saying that Netflix and Hulu are my go-to for the shows that I'm watching currently, whether that's shows that are Netflix originals or shows that are currently on Hulu that I don't have a TV to watch. I will buy certain episodes from certain shows on iTunes every now and then. It's very rare that I do that these days. Sometimes I would rather rent a movie on iTunes than actually buy it, because if I just need to see the movie itself, I don't need the high definitions, all the special features. If I just need to see the movie itself and it's $2.99, $3.99 to buy, that's fine. If I still had a Redbox that was within walking distance of me, I would be using Redbox more for renting DVDs, but there is no Redbox within a
Is Redbox still a thing?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, it's just not in Canada anymore then. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, also, again, physical versus digital comics. I am so glad I am all digital on comics now.
I'm starting to move towards digital because I have so many long boxes I don't know what to do with.
Yeah. And see, that's the reason why I'm going digital with everything, is because I had a tote of movies and TV shows of just my stuff That was not even the stuff that was collective between the entire household. And so I just wanted to purge. And so like I was selling everything left and right. I managed to buy like, you know, a water camera, a 27-inch TV or a monitor for my computer, and, you know, just stuff in that regard by getting rid of a lot of it. But some of it I managed to pick up again on digital, and honestly, that's like my favorite route.
I find it hard to give up movies and media. I don't know, just because I get paranoid that I'm going to lose it.
Well, see, me, it depends on the show. Like, for instance, if it's Star Trek movies,
it's always going to be available somewhere.
Well, it's always available somewhere. Not the movies, though. The TV series.
True.
The TV series costs too much for me to warrant paying for it, whereas the movies are dirt cheap, and so I will buy every one of the movies of that, and the same thing with Star Wars. I will buy the movies of Star Wars, but the majority of everything else I will get digitally, just on the sheer fact that, one, it's not Star Trek or Star Wars, and then two, it's for the amount of how infrequent I go back to watch things, because I have this like photographic memory of movies and TV shows that I watch. Yeah, I could have watched it 10 years ago, and I can sit there and walk in a room and tell you what movie you're watching within the first 5 seconds, if I've seen it, and it's ridiculous. So like, because I did that at my in-laws the other day. We went over there and they were watching. They just started Flintstones Viva Rock Vegas because it was just on, and it was more so for the benefit of the kids, and so it went to the Universal screen. I'm like, well, it's Flintstones, and then I was like, it's the Rock Vegas one, and they were like, how do you know? And I says, well, I don't know. I says, it's just something about it, and then like, sure enough, it goes to the next scene, and it was that, and so like, it's how infrequent I watch things. It's better for me to get it digitally.
Not bad, not bad. I know when I moved to my new place here, we had 25 boxes of just movies. We just purged some the other day. We paid off some bills, got some groceries. But I can't find myself letting go of certain things. Like, for example, I was thinking about getting rid of my Robotech DVDs, but let's say, I don't know, it disappeared from Netflix for like 3 years, man. I don't know. Or my like He-Man box set I got. I don't know. Even the real Ghostbusters just came to Netflix a little while ago, and here I am. I don't know.
I find that absolutely hilarious. Okay, so for the last 5 years, Optimus Solo and I have been doing the He-Man and She-Ra podcast, Powers of Grayskull. We reviewed all 130 episodes of He-Man individually, and all 93 episodes of She-Ra individually. She-Ra, I had the DVDs at one point, but stuff came up that I had to get rid of them. And as soon as we recorded and released episode 82 of that podcast, which was the She-Ra recap, 3 days after that episode went online, guess what showed back up on Netflix? He-Man Season 1 and She-Ra Season 1 from Filmation. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Oh, yeah, the streaming stuff is crazy. I don't know. I agree with Steve. If it's more, I personally think if a show or a movie is more than 5 years old and it's not anywhere other than certain sites, then what's it hurting? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, what is it hurting if it's already there? I'm not sharing a link to it. That's the other thing. I will not download anything unless I pay for it. When it comes to movies and TV shows, I will find a website that will show it to me on their website.
I'll find a way to get it legally or through my press credentials or some way. I don't like piracy. I really don't.
And I don't either in general. But again, if it's something that is not easily accessible or is not even on, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying, oh my God, I'm gonna go over to this website and watch all of Riverdale when it just showed up on Netflix, and I already paid for Netflix. So why the hell am I going to go to the pirate site when I can go to something I already paid for?
Yeah.
You know?
Or if something's available freely over the air, I don't know. I see that's such a fuzzy area, but that's a topic for a different day.
Yeah.
I guess in conclusion, for whole collecting adults versus kids, I guess it kind of depends on what age you really want to get them into, or if you want them to treat digital. Because, like, I think Steve and you bring up a really good point. If you want to collect it, digital's not a bad way to go for certain media.
Yeah.
Well, like I've discovered that even recently, comics. If I'm going to read comics, I would rather do digital, only for the sheer fact. And now, granted, it's not the same as movies or TV shows, because when that service goes away, you're kind of SOL. But it's better in a sense because you don't have to physically take up the storage space, and comics can actually take up a lot more space than than traditional media. So
and the other thing with comics is, and I wish we had some sort of deal with them, but the only service I use currently is Comixology. I know all the comic companies have their own apps and everything else and all that, but Comixology for me, once I found their guided view, I cannot read a comic page by page anymore unless it's in that guided view on Comixology. It's just not going to happen because I love that guided view so much.
Yeah, like I'm actually using Comixology now. I got it while I was in the hospital. I'm paying for Marvel now. I don't use it. Probably should because my in-laws are paying for it. But I don't know. I mean, I think when I have my own kids, it's going to be really hard to not give them the collecting bug, because I would love for my kids to be into something like Power Rangers, if anything, so I can live vicariously through them. And maybe that's why I want my kids to be collectors, so I have an excuse to buy these new toys each and every day.
But then the sad thing is they're technically not yours then.
Yeah, exactly.
Shut up.
You're buying them for your kid, and then it's no longer you living
Reality
vicariously.
bites.
It's then they're eating from your money, and then so therefore.
See, it would break my heart if I saw my little boy or girl taking the dragon dagger and chewing on it, or like, no, honey, please don't eat the Red Ranger shield. No, please stop.
Stop digging with the dragon dagger. Stop digging in the dirt.
Although I will admit tonight, I did find an alternate use for the Dragon Zord. This one's motorized. I chased Ayla around the house with it and shot her with the missiles. Wiley decides to cuddle with it. Now, Ayla has this other thing. On top of my freezer, on top of my huge stand-up freezer, I have a Star Wars AT-AT. Ayla sleeps between the legs of the AT-AT. So Ayla has her AT-AT. Wiley has the Dragon Zord. I'm waiting for Logan to make friends with the giant Megazord next.
My favorite thing to do is to chase my dog by activating all of the cars and trucks that you can press a button and it's motorized and it starts going and driving on its own. And then I have them all going. It's like you're watching like Mad Max with cars, chasing this mega beast in the living room, and then I have all these cars just driving towards the dog and
get her done.
Oh. Ayla was so freaked out when the Dragon Zord started playing that dun, 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 dun. She's like, "Oh my God, what are you?" And then it shot her and she ran. And whereas Wiley goes up to it, starts purring. He's like, "Hello, special friend." Wow. So I guess I don't know. Is there anything else we want to kind of add to this, guys? To put a bow on it.
The thing with the comics, it is a space thing again, but it's also for me it's a space thing and it's a convenience, but also again I don't like. Okay, what came out this week? I'm trying to think. Take any new comic book that came out last Wednesday. I have lost the need to absolutely have that right now. Like, it took me about 6 months to buy all 6 of the issues of the IDW DC Comics Batman TMNT Adventure series, which is a 6-issue miniseries combining BTAS and the TMNT 2012 cartoon in a comic book. And we just recorded that episode of the Pull Bag today. It'll actually be out previously to this episode, but it's one of those things where I didn't buy that final issue until this month, and it was only because I needed to record it. All the other issues I paid $2 for on Comixology. So it's one thing for me when I'm buying stuff, when I'm looking at stuff to buy. Like I said, if it's movies, if I can't get it immediately rented through iTunes, or if it's not on Netflix or Hulu, I can wait until I can find it at a discount somewhere else. And I think that's the difference for me. I'm not planning on having kids. So it's one of those things where I don't have to worry about passing on any of my traits. I would say for you, Dodd, that when you guys eventually have kids, start them out on the cartoons first and see what cartoons they like, and see if they say, Daddy, I want a toy of that, or I want a toy of this. And then you can actually go find something that's already out there.
Well, because then you can be like, hey, look what I have. And then they'll be like,
if you think that's cool.
Yeah, if you think that's cool, let me show you this, and then so they're like, I want it. And then, so if, or have your display, your collector case, and then have, all your figures in it. And then they're like, I want that. I have to have that. And then they flock right towards your collection. Cause I actually used to have, a library system with my figures. And there were certain figures on a certain shelf that the kid was allowed to play with. And, he had to check them out from me and return the previous set in order to gain access to new ones.
Someday, hopefully, I'll have my own little Power Ranger, my own little Ghostbuster, and they'll be able to check out all my cool toys. I'm really hoping to just show the next generation how much fun collecting really can be, to kind of to show them how we grew up. And I said, I'm jealous of some of the cool toys they have now.
I'm definitely jealous of some of the figures that come out now. I was going to say that, did we ever actually grow up, though?
No. We're all still Toys R Us kids.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, once again, I got to send a huge shout out and thank you to Fisher Price, to Mattel, to Bandai, to Shout Factory, Playmobil for their tremendous support during this show. Without their support, I don't think I would have realized just how much still I am in love with some of these properties. Like, it was something to build my Ecto 1 again. That was really cool. Then today, chasing the cat around with the Dragon Zord. It makes you want to go back and rewatch Power Rangers. So I got to say, once again, thank you to everybody who helped make this possible. And hopefully you guys will check out some of their guys' stuff in your local retailers or wherever fine vehicles, toys, and media are sold.
So that rounds out this episode of Altered Geek. And so until next time, we have been
Mike, Dave, Joe, and Blanchard.
Mike the Birdman Dodd.
And Steve Megatron Phillips. So until next time, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks.